Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second Copilot webinar. Today, in our info webinar, we welcome you the opportunity to show you how we can give you a nice project overview. This project overview is going to be handled by our project coordinator. After this project overview, we are going to move more into the Copilot platform. The Copilot platform is going to be explained in a 20-minute session by our technical coordinator. Finally, in the end, you are going to have a session, a Q&A session with all the cluster leaders where you can pose your questions. So without further ado, I will now move the word to our project overview, to our project coordinator, Ioana Tricopoulou from Netcompany. Ioana, the floor is yours.
So, hello everyone. This is Ioana Tricopoulou. I am a project manager in European projects in Netcompany, and I would like to introduce you to the project Copilot. Actually, Copilot stands for a collaborative open platform for piloting services across smart IoT and edge environments. It's a Horizon Europe project running for 3 years with a strong consortium and a significant budget. The goal is to enable next generation IoT and edge computing solutions and industries across industries. Rafael, can you go to the next one? Okay, our consortium is quite large and diverse with over 46 members from 12 different countries. This diversity is key as it allows us to cover multiple domains and bring strong expertise across sectors. Next slide. So our vision is to unlock the full potential of intelligent edge management. We aim to integrate robust solutions and validate them in real-world environments across multiple sectors. Importantly, we also look at market potential and societal impact, not just the technical performance. Next slide, please. Challenges. There are several challenges we're addressing. These include trust and security concerns, interoperability issues, and the rapid growth of IoT devices. We also need better visibility, smarter orchestration, and more automation in increasingly complex systems. Next slide. So our approach, how to tackle these challenges. We actually embed security and trust directly into the platform. We focus on interoperability across domains and introduce intelligent automation, advanced monitoring and closed loop systems. Helps us move towards smarter decision making. Next slide, please. Okay, our platform, in order to handle the imminent requirements, must support collaborative services across the full computing continuum. It needs to work across sectors, ensure interoperability, and provide enhanced capabilities in security, automation, and intelligence. We also demonstrate this through real cross-sector applications. Next slide. At the core, Copilot builds a collaborative open platform for end-to-end orchestration. It aligns with key standards and supports the broader vision of connected, collaborative, and compute-driven networks, what we actually call 3C networks. Next slide. So there are 3 directions in our development. At the core, Copilot builds a structure that has 3 directions. The one is the implementation of the enabling platform. The second direction is to deploy it in 5 different business sectors and within cross-sector piloting applications. And the third direction is actually the assessment of the piloting use cases, not only in terms of performance, but as well as in market potentials and environmental and societal impact. Thank you. These are our 5 pilot clusters. Each focuses on a different domain, from mining and smart cities to agriculture and energy. Together, they demonstrate the platform versatility across real-world environments. Next slide. So, cluster 1 is in Sweden and focuses on mining and logistics. We look at use cases like seismic sensing, infrastructure monitoring, and predictive maintenance to improve efficiency and safety. A key element is integrating IoT, edge, and cloud across multiple mining sites. Cluster 2 is in Spain, focuses on smart cities and mobility using environments like Valencia's port, campus and industrial areas. The goal is to optimize traffic, energy use, and urban sustainability through real-time data and distributed intelligence. Next slide. Cluster 3A is based in Greece. It focuses on energy systems, especially improving grid reliability in environments with high renewable energy use. This includes real-time grid flexibility, EV charging support, and predictive maintenance. Cluster 3 is also based in Greece and focuses on smart agriculture. We use sensors, drones, and robotics for crop monitoring, automation, and better supply chain management, aiming to more efficient and sustainable farming. Next slide. And last, it's the cluster 4, which operates across Europe and focuses on cloud-managed IoT infrastructures. It includes use cases like IoT sensor lifecycle management, water efficiency in agriculture, and optimized production processes. There's also a strong focus on data sharing and scalability, showing how solutions can be applied across different sectors and countries. Next slide. So we have different partners having different roles. The technology providers build the platform, the operators handle deployment, SMEs drive innovation, and academic partners contribute research and testing. This collaboration is essential for the project's success. So the closing slide, please. Thank you for your attention. And now we can move forward to the next part of the webinar with our technical coordinator, George Katsikas.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you for this nice introduction. And now that we have seen the overview of the project, we have seen an initial part of the different clusters, Georgios will dive into the Copilot platform. So Georgios, I'm stopping to share my screen. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Rafael. Hello, everyone. My name is Georgios Katsikas. I am the technical manager of Copilot, and I work with Ubitech, a Greek SME established in Athens. So let's talk a bit about the Copilot platform now. The emphasis of this talk will be around the core components of the platform and how these components relate to open source systems in Europe and what kind of standards those systems implement for ensuring interoperability and long-term viability of the platform. So in the coming slides, I will gradually unfold this complex ecosystem on which Copilot is established, and I will go in a layer-by-layer approach. So I start with the bottom part, the actual continuum that we try to address and tame. This is what we call infrastructure layer in Copilot, and it's essentially the broad IoT to edge to core cloud continuum that spans across Europe. So this continuum contains extreme edge, pools of intelligent IoT swarms spread across Europe. Those environments may or may not have compute capabilities, depending on the, let's say, type of sensor or data sources that we may have. Those extreme edge locations or mini domains typically connect to edge infrastructures, either in a cellular manner, satellite, or even fixed network. We also have a multitude of edge domains across different business sectors that we address in Copilot. And this continuum goes all over to core and then hyperscalers and public clouds with increasing capacity. So we speak about a heterogeneous infrastructure of multiple elements, and we need means to control all of those resources end to end. For this reason, on top of this layer, we introduce what we call a distributed infrastructure services layer, which classifies those resources roughly in three categories: data, network, and compute, as you see on the graphics. Now, on top of this system, we unfold Copilot. This is what we call essentially the infrastructure that is given to us to manage. It can belong to any vertical sector, to any kind of application domain, not only the Copilot ones, but even broader. So Copilot needs to go on top and provide means to manage this heterogeneous pool of resources. And how we do that? The first layer that we introduce in our architecture is called distributed domain orchestration layer. So if you allow me to use the pointer, this layer is, as it's called, also distributed because this continuum spans across the entire continent. There are multiple stakeholders who provide this type of resources. And typically, each stakeholder may need to have its own way of managing these resources in a private and trusted manner and secure. So for this reason, we have this distributed layer in our architecture where we give the ability to those stakeholders to employ their own version of a domain orchestrator. We abbreviate this as a DO, their own version of data management platform, with which they can actually port it to the various underlying sensors or data sources, and a business portal on top to be able to govern the whole domain. So both the domain orchestrator and the data management platform establish bindings with the underlying resources via different types of protocols. And they typically try to connect to manage the data, network, and compute resources that you see underneath. We pay a lot of attention in the way those platforms speak to the underlying infrastructure by means of technologies and standards, and you will see later on what we mean by this. Our motto is everywhere to be interoperable. This means that we need to comply to certain standards, and this goes all over our architecture. So as you see in the graphics, this domain orchestrator establishes bindings with the network elements and compute elements of the whole continuum, while the data management platform establishes bindings with the sensors and various data sources. Those combined provide end-to-end resource management within a domain, and through the portal, you can do this in an easy way. Another component that we didn't explain yet is what we call here a secure integration fabric client. You will see later the full secure integration fabric layer. It's a layer itself. Essentially, this is the part of Copilot which allows the exposure of certain resources or services within a domain in a secure and trusted manner. This is a kind of a vertical layer to ensure trust and security. Why do we need this? Because in Copilot, collaboration is a first-class citizen, which means that two different domains may need to exchange data or services, and users may be able to use applications that span multiple domains. For this to happen, we need means for those domains to exchange the data in a secure way. This is why we have this secure integration fabric layer, which comes on top, and also to expose certain endpoints within their domain in a secure and trusted manner. So whatever type of resource or service we want to expose outside of a domain has to go through this security and trust layer. It is exposed in this central fabric, which is end-to-end encrypted. And with certain policies, this can be consumed by somebody else within the Copilot ecosystem. So these policies basically govern who is able to talk to everybody else in the ecosystem, therefore establishing only the necessary bindings between the services. So this is how our different domains across Europe span on top of the infrastructure and the infrastructure services. We have lots of Copilot domains today in Europe already established, and the secure integration fabric layer is also present to actually expose them in a secure and trusted way. Now, I said previously that there is a need in Copilot for applications and data to be collaborative. So if we have this kind of applications and we want to control them end-to-end, a single domain orchestrator is not enough. This is why we have a hierarchy of orchestrators in Copilot, and the next layer in the architecture, called end-to-end service orchestration layer, is the one which ensures the deployment and correct provisioning of this kind of end-to-end services across domains. This layer has also the end-to-end service orchestrator. It's a single cloud managed component, which we abbreviate as ESO. Through the secure integration fabric, this ESO establishes bindings with all Copilot domain orchestrators. So it's able to oversee all of the domains. It's able to peer with those domains and basically aggregate all the services that are present in each domain, and then offer those in standardized catalogs and service categories to the end users through a dedicated portal. So this is where we foresee most of the Copilot ecosystem to bind initially in the system. So all the Copilot stakeholders, ranging from vertical end users to platform operators, infrastructure providers, open call users like you, and other third parties, should be able to authenticate and consume this end-to-end layer, where we have the view of the entire ecosystem. And then, depending on which cluster is your target, you can be directed to the specific domain orchestrator and data management platform to deal with the local services and resources there. Last but not least, you see portals everywhere, basically, at the domain level and also at the end-to-end level. This is our business management layer in the architecture, and this is also distributed because we have stakeholders who wish to have a high-level view of the system, therefore consume services from the end-to-end portal, versus other stakeholders who are dealing only with domain-specific services, and therefore they only care about those. The portal at the domain level, therefore, is the correct one to deal with. On top of this whole ecosystem, as Ioanna said previously, we have 5 different vertical sectors, which we call clusters in Copilot. Those clusters are related to industrial operations, smart cities, farming, and energy management. And the type of abstractions that this platform offers to the different stakeholders is multifold. It goes from the ability to manage the resources down here to the way that these resources are offered as a service on top of its domain. This is where we use standardized APIs to offer every type of resource as a service in Copilot. Security and trust with on-the-fly establishment of encrypted VPNs using the secure integration fabric layer. End-to-end management of services, no matter how many domains they span at the layer of the end-to-end orchestration, and also ecosystem and business management at the level of the business management layer. So if we want to make now a connection of this abstract platform with actual systems, this is the way we have done it. So again, I start from in a bottom-up way. At the level of data, network, and compute, here we have at the level of data first. I will start with the level of data. All we need to ensure here is that whatever sensor you may have or type of data source you may have, this needs to be connected to the data management platform of your domain in a way that is standardized. Therefore, we use a lot the concepts of ETSI CIM, Context Information Management, ISG, and specifically the NGSI LD and V2 data models, which are standardized to describe every connection of sensors or data sources with the Copilot platform. At the level of network, we use technologies which are open to manage either 5G or beyond networks in an end-to-end manner. Here, we may have indicative technologies like Open5GS, Free5G Core, Open Air Interface, and all these kind of cloud-native stacks which are open to manage, especially the 5G resources. And for the compute ecosystem, we basically rely on best practices from Cloud Native Compute Foundation based on the Kubernetes ecosystem, where we try to describe every service and application in Copilot as this kind of cloud native resource in the Kubernetes ecosystem, using either Kubernetes natively or technologies like Helm, for example. At the level of managing the domains through the domain orchestrator, we use standardized OpenSlice by ETSI orchestrator. This is a software development group by ETSI, which deals with slicing compute and network resources within a domain. This orchestrator can collaborate with other platforms like open source Mano, Teraflow SDN, and via TM Forum APIs expose everything outside of the domain as a standardized service. For the data management part, we use modern data space technologies, which are prevalent in Europe, like all types of Gaia-X compatible platforms, including Fireware and Eclipse as well. These are all based on the standards that I described previously about NGSI LD. Indicative platforms that we have already established in this in the consortium of Copilot are Fireware's Orion Context Broker, also the Stelio and Scorpio context brokers of Fireware as well, and also the Eclipse Arrowhead. For the secure integration fabric, we rely on an open platform called OpenZT to provide this security and trust by design. And at the level of the end-to-end service orchestrator, we again rely on a standardized hyper orchestrator. It's called Hypo. It also belongs in the ETSI OpenSlice ecosystem as a module, and it uses the same TM Forum APIs to describe services in a standardized fashion. So these are the key elements of the platform today, and all of those rely on open documentation, which you may find available. So you can basically use this documentation as a reference to describe the way you can integrate your solutions in Copilot through those systems. For your convenience, I just summarize those systems here in this slide. For the end-to-end orchestrator, we have the Hypo. Here I have the links for the Hypo source code and documentation, and also the related standards that Hypo relies on, like TM Forum, for example. Same for the domain orchestrator, which is OpenSlice. Again, reference to the code and docs. For data management, as I said, we have a multitude of Fireware elements and also parts of the Eclipse community already available. You can also refer to those NGSI standards by CIM if you want to see how they're described as data models. There are also examples in this ecosystem where you can find how, let's say, existing IoT devices utilize those data models. And there's also a link to OpenCity platform, which also implements a set of standardized data models and open standards to provide security like MTLS, SPIFFE, and others. So around those systems, we have people in the consortium who are experts, and they're actually leading those communities. So we have a broad participation from Cluster 1 with regards to projects like Eclipse Arrowhead and Colony OS. This is the mining cluster where people from Cluster 1 are actually leading those open source communities. And we have also the leaders of OpenSlice, Hypo, as part of the consortium, participating in Copilot and giving inspiration on how to use and extend those systems. Yeah, so that was all from my side about the Copilot platform and the elements that comprise this platform. Thank you very much for your attention. Rafael, the floor back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, George. It's always a pleasure. Very informative session. And thank you also for staying on time. I'm sure everyone got to know Copilot platform more in deep detail, and some of the questions probably are answered and probably some others are arising now. So before we move to our Q&A session, I would like to get back to you and make just a quick summary. I would like to ask you to visit our Copilot website. In there, you will find on the top right a button for the open calls. That's where you will find the way for all the documentation, and you will find a button saying apply now, and in this way it will open a form where you need to submit your proposal. There is no need for registration in the website. You go to there, you click apply now, you submit the form, and this is the registration. One of frequent also question is regarding the consortium agreement. We will put it we will put this information available, but I would recommend using the DESCA model, so the standard model from the Horizon Europe. And there is commonly using the different Horizon projects. Other than that, I will kindly ask you to follow the Copilot social media channels. And for example, in YouTube, the recording of this webinar will be available, and you can watch it and you can pause it and you can see it more clearly. Now, moving to the final segment of today's webinar, I will now leave the floor to our cluster leaders. From Cluster 1 today, we have with us Martin Engelmark. From Cluster 2 in the Smart City of Valencia, we have Nuria and Maria. From 3, we have Eleftherios. 3A, we have Gregory with us. And 4, we have Luis and Luis. So welcome all to the stage, and we now will ask the audience if there is any questions. And start, I can see that we have in the chat already 29 questions, right? So I will open and facilitate this session. So we from the top, getting for cluster 2, so to Nuria and Maria, we have Marco Piccolino Boniforti, and it's regarding, in case of IoT sensors that are conform to one of the available protocols, can they just be plugged in and contribute to the data analytics without custom software development? So if an applicant can use their own sensors, it's what I get from this question.
Yes, it can, and they can be deployed. We just need to know clearly where they plan to deploy, because in some places it's more complicated, and we should request, if it's possible, to the proper authorizations. But in principle, yes, it is possible.
Okay, perfect. Yes, of course, it needs to be For the winning proposal, we will know in advance the timing where this deployment would occur, and we will take it from there. It's Marco has multiple questions here. So if it's possible to average Nespre. Also, further computing nodes to be hosted elsewhere, or is there a hardware support also within the physical cluster? This is regarding Nespre, if it's supported, and if there is infrastructure available from the pilot side, or if the participant needs to have their own infrastructure. That's what I understood from the question.
It's both. The sensors we have deployed within the cluster, the data will be available, yes, and some others that can be deployed can be also used.
There is a question regarding the assistance with installing and maintaining the devices. I believe this will fall under the mentorship program, probably. I don't know if you can have any vocal support. This will need to be agreed upon.
Yes, and that will be for all the clusters, because once you apply to one cluster and once an application is accepted as to be a funded project, then we'll organize per cluster sessions to onboard you all. So you will have the support of each cluster for the one you applied, actually.
Perfect. Final one is Think Cities is part of the general Cluster 2 Copilot platform. I think yes.
We have a cluster 2 platform that gathers all the data from the different sensors located in different places of the city and around, and it's gathered in a centralized platform to which data you will be able to access. Indeed.
Perfect. Now for 3A, 3E, and 2, so it will be again Nuria, and I will welcome also Gregory to join us, and Lefteris. So for the application, it follows again in the same category. So do we have what is the boundary between what is already installed and what the applicant needs to bring, which specific sensors? I guess what we have already installed can be found under the technical guidelines available in Copilot in the tab clusters. What are expected to bring themselves? I will not close too much. It's your own proposal, so feel free to propose. I don't know if you would like to, Gregory or Nuri, if you would like to add something here.
If Gregory wants to go first, I replied already to some questions. If not,
Hello.
I will go.
Yes, sure. Just a quick clarification that we have seen also in other questions. At the end of the day, please consider that within the proposals, you need to specify out of the hardware that is already provided or available to you, how you complement this with hardware provided either by you or established by one of your partners if you are a consortium. The data and the infrastructure, whether this is hardware, whether this is computing domain and so forth, of the cluster will be available to you at the time of the development of the solution. I don't know if this answers the question that is general for all clusters. To be honest, it is not very clear to me what is the boundary, the expression. So if we haven't answered this question, please feel free to jump back and provide additional clarification for this. But as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, with all clusters, there is a number of hardware, computing domains, test beds, and so forth. Applicants are expected to either decide to deploy their additional equipment, services, AI, algorithms, and so forth, complement what is already out there, or state that they will only use the infrastructure coming from the Copilot and they will deploy their pilot testing in another test bed using, again, specific services, applications, and so forth. I think our colleague George Katsikas from Jupiter has also, let's say, highlighted earlier what is available within the Copilot infrastructure and where the requirements are expected to be met with regards to capitalizing this infrastructure.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for your input, Gregory. Indeed, in the end of the day, one of the main goals of this open calls is to enrich the Copilot project and platform. So this goes in mind. We have here a question. What is expected in section 3.3, funding and justification? This is the budget section. So we expect you to just to put what's the budget and for what you are going to use it. Regarding here, Oscar Fernandez put it, we did not show one of the use cases, but it's still available, of course, for Cluster 2 use case 2.4. I don't remember it by heart, I must admit. But if it's in the technical, if it's in the guidelines, if it has a challenge, it's still available and people can apply for that use case, right?
Indeed.
Perfect. Yeah. Now, we have Adrianus Papas put it here. They already have a product for monitoring buildings. If we apply with this, would it be proper to propose installing our hardware in Valencia? So I can see a lot of interest in Valencia. That's good for you. I guess a lot of work is coming to you. Hopefully, we'll receive a lot of good and interesting proposals. We count on that. And I believe we have answered this question. So this is the same question as we just answered above.
Indeed, and also what Gregory put before. So there are different ways of applying to our open calls. You can install your own devices, you can use our data, and so far as it integrates within the World Copilot platform and to the cluster you apply. So you can use our data, you can put your own to add more of what we have and integrate everything together.
Thank you. Yes. Sonia asks an interesting question here about what's the path from Copilot to business and sales and promotion of the platform? What happens after the pilots? I believe that there are two parts of the question here. Would it be from the Copilot project itself or from the open calls projects themselves? The goal from the open calls projects, which I think is the question here, is to further develop and further enhance the Copilot platform. And if there is a product arising from these open calls, feel free, go ahead. Now, we have here from can a project in the health be eligible to participate? You need to select one of the 5 clusters. So we don't have a health cluster. Since we are talking about open collaboration platform, maybe what you have to in the health sector on a digital level could be applied to one of our clusters. A pure health project, no. I don't see it. I see it out of scope. Marco asked here if we implement direct support for Saref semantics as well. So Saref, I don't know if it's for buildings or for the energy. I would ask Georgios, do you know if we have Saref as a supported George Katsikas? Saref is let's say on the ontology side. So I don't know, Georgios, if we are going to support which type of Saref. It's the question here. I also don't know if it's for buildings, for energy. But in principle, we have shown the open source standards that we use. So
yeah, correct. This applies mostly to semantics, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mhm.
So this is a kind of a level on top of what the data refers to. We are not imposing specific standards there. So I guess partners are free to suggest ways to integrate Saref or similar to Copilot, as long as this is compliant to the rest of the requirements that we have for integration.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Now we have a question for cluster 4. So I welcome Luís Ferreira and Luís Rosa. The question is regarding the use case 4.2, which is water utilization efficiency in the vineyards domain from Jorge Trincado. If we are open to proposals that include new soil sensor deployments, or do you expect applicants to work within the data sources already available in the Nokia Matanza place?
Yeah, from our side, we are actually open to both options. We already have the data sources from Nokia Matanza site, so that maybe can help move faster. We don't have to include the new sensors and the hardware. But of course, if the proposals include new soil sensors and add value in that hardware part, it can also make sense, counting that it can be installed in realistic timeline for the project. So yeah, the hardware can still be relevant if it supports to a broader validation in the scope of the cluster.
Definitely. Thank you. This is important. It was referred in the initial webinar. So for everyone, the project duration will be 8 months. And since it is running along the Copilot project, we don't have much flexibility here. So it will also need to follow the timeline of the project, since we are going to have second round open post by the end of this year. There is this fixed duration. So please keep that in mind, and also present proposals that have this scope feasible within this time frame. We have one here. If it's needed to submit the consortium agreement within the proposal submission, when going to the open call application form, if you select, you'll find one field that is called participants. If you find the option single or consortium, when you click consortium, there will be a section to upload the consortium agreement. So you do need to have one if you are a consortium. Regarding cybersecurity projects, if they are applied to one of the clusters, yes, I think it's in scope, it's feasible. No, okay, one more for me on the administrative side, so I will move it quickly. The proposal form is only 12 pages, but with many questions. Can you please advise which section should be most detailed? It's up to you. How do you use the 12 pages? Just you need to have all the 3 sections plus the project summary and the budget. So that's up to you. Keep in mind on the initial part of the guidelines, you will find the font size and the margins. So there is no point in doing font number 8 if it's there number 11. One more for cluster 2. In cross-domain scenarios, where are new services integrated with existing clusters, such as our smart building pilot interacting with the UPV smart city cluster, or would have a greater impact in the project? Focusing on data sharing between domains, example, Fireware and GSI, or data spaces, or deploying interoperable components such as sensors, edge devices, or services across both environments. So if I understood correctly, is if we look for more software and the interoperability part, or if we look more to hardware?
We are open for all possibilities. It's up to them to apply.
Correct. So there is no
There's no, I mean,
penalization for being softer, or
No.
there is no bonification for being harder? It's the
no,
same.
we are open to all possibilities, and it's so far as it integrates and makes sense, then we'll evaluate how it can be integrated.
So there is no, we are not specifically looking for attributing funding to a specific number of more hardware and a specific number more software. So this is not in scope. Just the distribution that it was agreed, and it's in the guidelines. There will be a distribution among the different clusters, assuming every cluster will have strong enough proposals that will meet the threshold naturally. Again, for cluster 2, if the data in cluster 2 needs to be carried out through the central Copilot platform or directly from the cluster itself, in the case that is done from the cluster and regarding 2.4a, so the smart buildings, could you detail which platforms are currently deploying for the data monitoring and management, such as Nespera, ThinkCities, and others? So all the platforms are in the technical guidelines available in the cluster 2 page in our website. And I believe, Nuria, it will need to be done by the Copilot platform, right?
Yes, but I would say it's as we were saying before, so you apply to one cluster, so it has to be compliant with what the cluster needs, and also it has to comply with Copilot as a whole. So how we work is we have this centralized cluster platform, so the data or whatever you do has to work with the cluster platform, store here, and go to Copilot through it if you manage data here or use extend capabilities.
Thank you. Now we will have a question for the cluster 1. What would be the radio layer in cluster 1 uses to ensure compatibility and the possibility of integration? I also believe this is in the, again, once more, Martin, if you would like to help me, but I believe this information is detailed in our technical guidelines under cluster 1, correct?
Yeah, that would be the first place to check. I am not sure actually on the specific question, but I will need to get back to Aurelia on this afterwards.
Yes. If you could let us know which use case you had in mind, since they could not be all in the same place, we will try to pin down in that specific region or with the radio layer used for cluster 1 for sure. Thank you, Aurelia, for your interest in this sector too.
Yep.
Thank you, Martin, for your help. Now for Gregory on cluster 3A, we have an anonymous question. We are preparing here a proposal to develop a new service of the Copilot infrastructure with a food logistical partner. Okay, interesting. Could you please confirm whether the validation with an end user in a different country is eligible, or whether combining services, onboarding a new domain integration, extending a blockchain-based service is within scope? So if you can use a different country and if you can use blockchain-based service.
We have already a blockchain-based service that is available within the cluster. With regards to the piloting outside Greece, I'm not sure I understand. Cluster 3A is based in Greece, so maybe the example it's missed there. How shall I respond to this? You need to make a rational and logical decision, because this half of the question to this is if your proposal stands. For example, if you tell me that we start on the application, we collect and we complement Copilot infrastructure and data through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the agri-food logistics actor, what is your end goal? Is it a service, is it a function, is it a combination of hardware, software that gives add value? Then this can be applicable within the open call requirements. If this is not, if you cannot justify the connection between how you connect with the test bed and you extend it further. For example, you state that you're doing evaluation with consumers in another region. You need somehow to connect those. Consider that in all applications, if you are building, if you are not, let's say, somehow replicating the same test bed in another region, you need to concretely connect what the cluster and the test bed and the partners are doing and justify the extension. Why this extension in terms of hardware, software is meaningful and how this adds value at the end of the day. Consider that it is not purely populate the hardware, populate the services. As you have seen also in the application, and this applies to all clusters, there are KPIs that are expected and topics that are expected to address with regards to efficiency, with regards to environmental performance, availability of data, interoperability, and so forth. So at the end of the day, it's not if you extend it or replicate it, as long as your proposition adds value for the respective cluster sector that it addresses, and of course, it is aligned to the problem statement that you will provide.
Okay, perfect. There is one for Thomas. We are going to use, for the consortium agreement, we are going to use Desk. And now there is again here one for 3A, regarding introducing complementary technologies, datasets or services. Could you clarify what level of linkage to the current Wi-Fi vegetables power is the minimum expected for such complementary solutions? I think we also, this is the same as above, right, Gregory?
Please repeat, Rafael.
So there is one question in the open call applicants, the note. The cluster 3A states that open call projects may bring and deploy a new domain within cluster 3A. This new domain introduces complementary technologies, datasets, or services. And the question is, if we can clarify what is the level of linkage to the current pilot? What is the minimum for such complementary solution?
I cannot say about minimum or maximum, but I can say that I mentioned this in parallel earlier. Within all propositions, no matter of which cluster, you start with a problem statement that you see in the market in a sector that you apply either a single applicant or consortium. Then essentially you establish the link of your proposition with what it is already established within clusters. Each cluster addresses a number of issues, but not everything. So if your proposition is complementary to this and you add value, then you're fine. I would say this is the most straightforward answer that I can give right now.
Yes, thank you. Perfect. Laura from Zabava, regarding cluster 2, if we can know more about the energy assets in La Rinera building. I think what is inside the building, it's again, once more repeating myself, but it's in these technical guidelines. So, I don't know, Nuri, if you would like to add which type of energy assets are in this specific building, or if this...
What we mainly use is occupancy detection, but we'll check if you need more details on specific devices or you want to install them. I can take this question out of here and reply in the question and answers we have in the webpage to ask more specifically for the BMS system that they use.
Okay, perfect. One question is if there is an added value to count with the research organization, you can apply either as a single SME or as an SME leading a consortium. The next one, I believe we have already answered. Junkau Oriol, for once more the cluster 2, for the smart building part. What are the assets modalities are enabled to extract sensor data? Is assets provided via dashboards, API, or direct integration within the Fireware Context Broker?
Okay, in general, we gather in the cluster platform of the data and then forward to the Copilot platform. How to integrate these applicants through open calls. Everything has to be integrated, but if at first level is easier to make the test for direct integration with some of the components or some platforms, we can discuss that. But in the end, the final solution or the final experiment should test Copilot as a whole as we are dealing now. Not sure if that replies the question.
Yes, I think so. Now we have from João Oliveira the devices that are currently deployed. Nuria just answered that. What context information is provided? I believe this one is also answered. What action capabilities are currently available? So it says missing is closer. I think this one's shown as 6 questions, so we will get to you by offline in the interest of time answering them.
Yes, and also many of those questions have already been replied, like in the sense of is expected to deploy more devices or not. It's up to you. We have information that we'll make available, but extensions on more devices for complementarity is also welcome. It's up to you on how you distribute your proposal, where you put your effort, and how you justify where to put more or less the effort, so far as the whole proposal makes sense and adds value to the cluster and to Copilot. And restrictions regarding where and how actuation can be applied is what I replied at the beginning, because we have different locations and not all of them are on the same level of, let's say, authorization or accessibility. We'll need to check what you propose and ask for the proper permits to install the things. And maybe some restrictions are applied and some locations are not possible, or within the location some parts are not available and others yes. That we need to see written what you propose and see later.
Perfect. So we are approaching our time. I'm going to take 10 minutes extra time. So we will close this at 4:10 and we will go through the final set of questions. One year regarding an Ukrainian IT teams. And the question is if we can clarify that this time we are looking for partners specific from previous selected projects. No, it's the first open call. You need to apply. Feel free to apply. We're looking forward for your proposal. Now, if we have a pilot site for our consortium, can it be combined with the pilot available as part of cluster 2? Yes. One question regarding the number of projects that are going to be awarded. So what is written is every cluster will have one proposal, assuming there is enough proposals meeting the threshold and they are good enough. And naturally, not all use cases will be able to have their challenges addressed this time. That's why there will be a second round. Regarding the Cluster 3A technical guidelines, they are indeed a description of the Cluster 3A itself, and the formal part are in the guides for applicants and the proposal guidelines are in the ones in the website under the open call page. The ones in the clusters are supporting documents for the open calls. The official documents will be ones in the open call page. For Sergio, you can only submit one proposal for the cluster. After the 8 months of the pilot, can in this case for cluster 1, the mine site continue using Copilot service? Is there a continuation model? This will be discussed with the winners, and there is an interest that to continue support the applicants for sure. Yeah, that means the solution was viable and we had a new product. Is there a minimum or maximum participation for the SME in the consortium? I don't know if I get this question correctly. I believe the question is regarding budget distribution or effort distribution. Naturally, if the SME is coordinating, we did not define a minimum contribution expected from the SME, but if it's the coordinator, of course, you are not going to get a good evaluation if the coordinator has 10% of the effort. I guess that's common sense. Then the declaration of honor is signed only by the leader of the proposal. The declaration of honor is to be signed by the multiple participants of the proposal in case it's a consortium, and it's to be submitted as a single PDF during the proposal phase. Baran asks if there is a platform for joining the consortium. We can help you. Send us an email with your idea and we can try to match. We have received some requests for that, so send us an email. If you go to the guide of applicants, there is a specific section for that. So show us an email with that header and we will try to find you the correct one. There is no platform for this connection. It's centralized through the open calls. This one is repeated question. You need to select one cluster for the application, and since during the application you need to identify your company with the PIC number, so one company needs to submit to one cluster. I think that was also written. Now, a consortium has to be led by an SME, and for example, research institute will need to be a partner. Is this correct, Christoph? An RTO or research institute needs to be member of a consortium. The SME is the leader. It's under the eligibility conditions. Again, the cluster 3A question. Alex asks here, we are applying to cluster 2 in Valencia. We have sensors installed in the legacy building in Ukraine. Thank you, Alex, for your question. So for cluster 2, and Nuria, today again,
Yeah.
sorry. So Alex is asking so I will read the question. We have sensors installed in legacy buildings in Ukraine. While in our interest to perform an hardware deployment in Valencia, is that possible and desirable? to also push data from our pilot infrastructure in Ukraine to Copilot. So I guess it's like to have a replica.
Indeed,
digital
makes total
replica, yeah.
sense. Like to compare also the behaviors in one side or in the other. But for sure, you have to do things here and integrate with Copilot, not only bring building in Ukraine and not integrate or do everything there, but as comparison for behaviors and extension of data, it makes total sense that you also use your own data on
Mhm.
top.
Perfect. I also agree. Also, in a way, it would be nice to see the different. So it's different regions with different climate and probably different types of buildings. So it could enrich the proposal. So Adrianus Papas is asking, should we use the proposal guide as a document template, or can we make a new document adhering to the test side margins, etc.? So it's a guideline, it's not a template. You are free to use one as long as you follow the guideline. So the cover page and the contents, you are supposed to, if you want to use the guideline, you are supposed to remove all the instructions and all the information. And the maximum is 12 pages. The cover does not count. Okay, we have again the question for the building energy assets.
But I think we have replied that one before.
Yes, that one we have replied. Aliki, could a monitoring application using sensor data from heritage building management of cities located in Greece be applicable for cluster 2? This will follow under the same as Alex with Ukraine question. So yes. Javier, we have asked, we don't have a minimum defined for the SME participation in the consortium, but being the leader, we do expect to have a significant role, of course. As is that. Cluster 2, can we add our own devices to complement existing ones? If yes, can we buy hardware from the budget of our project? That's a good question. While buying equipment, you have to keep in consideration the 8 months duration. This is a part of the application form. In the end, you need to tick that box. So yes, you need to keep in mind the depreciation cost. There is a question regarding the workflows, onboarding and deploying new services, and integrating new private infrastructure domains. George is answering the question. Good. For Oscar, the SME needs to be established before the start of the open call and needs to fill in the SME checklist. That's right. You can apply as an SME. Final question. The template mentions 10 point size. That's the correct one. The FAQ, we have received this information and we have already updated and we are going to upload this information in the website. So but if the font size is the one in the guidelines, okay? So this is all. This is the end of our time today. I don't know if our Quester readers would like to say anything else. We have reached the final time today, and we have also reached the end of the questions. Thank you everyone for your participation, for joining, for making also an interactive process for your questions. I can see a lot of interest and engagement from the partners, and we expect to have a lot of good proposals. So, Georgios and Joanna, I don't know if you would like to say a brief final words. From my side, it's just to follow once more the Copilot social media. You can find the Copilot website there and in the QR code, and the deadline is 4th of May. Make sure to apply before the deadline, naturally.
I did my best to answer as many questions as I could. I guess I did more than 30, but yeah, time is restricted. Sorry for this. Just read the guidelines carefully. I think quite a bit of questions can be really addressed by carefully reading the guidelines. So please do so again. And we will advertise the material so that you can use it as a reference to finalize your proposals.
And from my side, I would like to wish you good luck with your submissions, and thank you very much for attending this webinar. And I think it was really helpful, and hope it has solved your questions. Thank you, Rafael, for hosting this.
Thanks, Rafael.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.